So the second internship site where I completed my hours was at the Intermountain Cottonwood Clinic. It was internal medicine, and I worked alongside Cynthia Papadopoulos, who is a doctor there. So I didn't have really any responsibilities in this internship because it was observation only due to our time restriction. I was only there for 25 hours. So really, I just observed Cynthia, really just took in what it is she did. And quite frankly, I got a lot of insight as to what goes on with internal medicine. And I feel like it complemented my experience at St. Mark's very well. Just because St. Mark's gave me the background insight to what's going on hospital administration wise when it comes to EMS. And then this just gave me a really good context into what goes on for normal annual wellness checkups. That's most of what Cynthia was doing. If not that, to talk to her patients about medications that weren't working well or next steps in treatment, whether that be for pre-existing conditions or for symptoms or ailments that they had just started experiencing. So if there was one thing that I would have choose to have changed in this experience, it would have been to have done it hands on. After day one, I would have been confident working one on one with the patients. Um, and in large part, that's because unlike EMS, you work your day is scheduled. You know what patients you're going to see, who you're working with. You work with them one at a time, and there's just something really nice about that as opposed to EMS, where you don't know your patients, where you don't know who you're going to work with, how many people. It could be chaos or nothing could be happening at all. So I found that side of internal medicine to be very interesting. So with this internship, the thing that surprised me the most was the breadth of knowledge Cynthia had on everything, ranging from pharmaceuticals to uh, psychological symptoms her patients had, uh, to just treatments of symptoms that some of our elderly patients had just recently started experiencing. For example, she had an elderly gentleman come in who was experiencing vertigo. Every time he would go from sitting to standing position, he would just get really dizzy. He wouldn't be able to move for almost 30 seconds due to this. And almost right off the bat, Cynthia knew that it was benign positional vertigo, and she diagnosed it with modified Epley maneuver. So she just showed this guy, how to sit up, move his head side to side, and do that whole routine. And he would do it once a day in the morning, every time he woke up. And apparently, over time, this helps rebalance that fluid, get it out of the inner ear, and restore his balance to normal. So, yeah, her breadth of knowledge, really. And many patients she had come in were for psychological symptoms only, which surprised me. Of course, if it was a more tricky situation, Cynthia could um, direct them to a psychological specialist at Intermountain. But in reality, she was able to help a lot of her patients with those issues, um, and could treat them with pharmaceuticals. And I found that to be fascinating. Um, I figured that would take part, in the psychological department. So, attitudes or beliefs. So for me, belief, my belief towards generational health was definitely challenged. Uh, what I learned when talking to Cynthia was how uh, she had 95-year-old baby boomers patients who would come in, who would be healthier than some of her 65-year-old patients. And she said this was in large part due to reliance on pharmaceuticals. Many more people today believe they can take a pill to solve all their problems, as opposed to making or implementing real changes into their health behaviors to solve these problems. and so that would make sense. And then she also attributed uh, the better health of older generations uh, to lack of movement. We sit around computers a lot nowadays. We're not as physical, and that lack of physical activity uh, is really what she believes is contributing to our lack of health. So this internship provided me just with insights to what goes on outside of an ER. Really, the only idea that I had was my own experiences with my doctor. And being as young as I am, I don't see my doctor often. So I hadn't anticipated, uh, the range of symptoms of issues that Cynthia was trained to handle, her depth of knowledge, um, and really just the kind of chaos that comes uh, with her type of work, with seeing those patients one on one. And so, yeah, I hadn't really anticipated that. Just as well, she seemed to know a lot about Medicare and Medicaid, about how health insurance worked. So really, just her knowledge in all areas of Western medicine, I found to be absolutely fascinating. Um, and the other thing was health and wellness. She very much cared about that. Um, what meditation. She recommended meditation apps, food apps to help eat healthier food, and I thought all of those things were great. And I really enjoyed my time with Cynthia.